Let's talk about more of the Alice Guo case with Senate Committee Ways and Means Chair Senator Win Gatchalian, who joins us on the line this evening. Good evening. Welcome to the show, Senator Win. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening to our listeners and televiewers.
Senator, let's kick off with the latest on this case. NBI says the fingerprints match of Alice Guo and Guo Huaping. What was your reaction when you found out?
Well, there's no more debate that Guo Huaping is Alice Guo, and the real nationality of Guo Huaping is Chinese. Therefore, Alice Guo is also Chinese. And she should be removed from her public elected post because only Filipinos can be mayors in our country. So it's imperative that this evidence that came out of the NBI be used against her in her quo warranto case.
Hey, Senator, I want to know about the responsibilities here of the family, because we do know that the birth certificate was applied for when she was, I believe, 13. I mean, is there anything that the law says about minors having responsibilities over errors in their birth certificates, for one? Is she directly accountable for this, or does the responsibility lie with her parents, for example?
No, she's not accountable for this because she did not fill up the birth certificate. It's her father who went to the civil registrar and provided the information, albeit all the information there are a bunch of lies and not truthful information. For example, she mentioned in her, the father mentioned in the birth certificate that his name is Angelito Guo, but there's no Angelito Guo in our country. He also mentioned that he's married to Amelita Rial, who claims to be the kasambahay, but there's no Amelia Rial born in our country. So all the information that he gave in the birth certificate are all lies. And because of that irregular birth certificate, Alice Guo became Filipino. But now it's irrefutable that Guo Huaping is Alice Guo by that fingerprint validation by the NBI. So Guo Huaping and Alice Guo is one and the same.
Right, so that piece of news with the fingerprints just came out at around 4 to 5 p.m. So this is relatively new. But at the hearing yesterday, I heard Senator Risa calling, papatawag daw, no, yung mga kapatid, I think including the parents of Alice Guo or Guo Huaping. Paano magbabago yung galaw ng investigasyon? Are we going to pursue? And kung hindi sumipot si Mayor Alice, are you going to pursue the contempt charges against her?
Well, we will talk about this in the committee. This information is quite new, so we have to talk about what angle are we pursuing or what new angle are we pursuing in the case of Alice Guo. But my advice to Alice Guo is to come clean and name all the persons responsible to the Pogo Hub. The Pogo Hub, definitely there are masterminds that are still at large, and Alice Guo should name all of them. I think there's already no more debate on her nationality. What she should do when she comes to the Senate is to name all those people responsible in the Bamban Pogo Hub and the Porac Pogo Hub.
Okay, Senator, can we ask, would you know anything about the Cassandra Lee Ong? Who is she and how is she involved in all of this?
Well, Cassandra Ong is the representative of Lucky South 99, where the Porac Pogo is located. And the registered company with PAG4 operating that Pogo Hub is Lucky South 99. And if you look at the documents of Lucky South 99, Cassandra Ong is the main representative. At the same time, Cassandra Ong is also the primary shareholder of Whirlwind Corporation, wherein that's the landowner of that Porac Pogo Hub. So in other words, she's in both the Pogo company as well as the land company where the Porac Pogo Hub is located.
Go ahead.
Senator, I just there seems to be two different investigations here, as far as I could see. Number one, the investigation on her identity, and number two on the Pogos, right? So, with this latest
Correct.
development, the fingerprints match. Okay, fine. You can charge her with fraud for lying to authorities. You can strip her of her elective post. But the linkage to her and the Pogo remains weak. Did I understand that correctly? Because remember, she divested from that company for Baofu before she ran for office.
No, she didn't divest. She only assigned her shares. Selling and assigning are two different actions. There's no proof that she sold her shares. In fact, we checked the BIR, and we found out that the certificate for payment of taxes was not issued at all on that supposed list, or not supposed sale. So there's no sale that went ahead with that with the shares related to Baofu land. She only assigned her shares to certain individuals.
Okay, at the hearing, she said she divested before she ran for office, so she was lying about that too.
She lied about everything. She lied about her nationality. She lied about not knowing her mom. She's living in a bunch of lies. Her whole life revolves around lying. So we cannot trust on what she's saying. Just imagine a person elected in Bamban living in lies. She knows very well who her mother is. She knows very well who are her siblings. But whenever she campaigned, she would say she's Filipino. Whenever she solicits votes, she would say that she's born here. But those are just a bunch of lies. So we cannot trust anything to say.
Okay, you've also made some linkages at the committee hearings that Mayor Guo is also somewhat involved in Lucky South 99, the Porac, Pampanga, Pogo. Have we solidified this linkage, and are we confident na pwede natin talagang pagdikit-dikitin tong dalawang kaso na ito?
We're still in the process of gathering evidence. And I just cannot divulge right now because PAOK is still investigating this matter. But the mere fact that Cassandra Ong is connected to Alice Guo, and there are evidence saying that, that means there's big probability that she's also connected to the Porac Pogo Hub.
Senator, as Reg mentioned, there are two issues here. One is on her identity, one is on the Pogos. For example, when it comes to her identity, you mentioned that the father was the one who put in the fraudulent information in the birth certificate. Ano po yung pwede nating ma-charge dun sa tatay? Mahahabol po ba natin given wala na sa bansa? And also, how do you establish knowledge of Alice Guo and awareness, full awareness on everything that is erroneous with the report, and what cases are you looking at filing now?
Well, his father should be charged with perjury. Lying in one's birth certificate is definitely against our law. He perjured 4 times because there were 4 birth certificates that were issued, all with erroneous information. So he will be charged accordingly. However, both the biological mother and the biological father of Guo Huaping are no longer here in the Philippines. They're Chinese citizens. So they went back to China, and they're not bound to come back to our country. In our information, Alice Guo is still here, or Guo Huaping is still here. The Bureau of Immigration has already issued lookout bulletins against her.
What about Li Wenyi, the mom, supposedly her real mom? Yeah, and her siblings as well that I'm not actually sure anymore kung iilan yung mga kapatid niya na lumulutang. But obviously, if her identity was fake, then it might also, we can safely assume that there's also going to be all these anomalies with the paperwork of the siblings. But being that they are private citizens, what will be the differences in handling the cases between Mayor Alice and her private citizen siblings?
Lin Wenyi is no longer here in the Philippines. She also went back to China. Again, she's Filipino. She's a Chinese citizen, so she can go back to China anytime and stay there, and not bound to come back here to the Philippines. So, based on the information from the Bureau of Immigration, both Guo Jianzhong and Lin Wenyi are back in China. As to the siblings, we're still checking with the Bureau of Immigration whether the two siblings registered in the BOI are still here in the Philippines.
Okay. How will this affect the movements of Mayor Alice Guo? I mean, when it comes to her businesses, the livelihood of her family, lahat po ba yun naka-freeze? And also...
Well, definitely she can...
Go ahead.
But since she is not Filipino, she cannot own land. So all the properties that she bought under her son-in will be forfeited by government because she's not allowed to buy land. At the same time, the shares under her company, of which she owns majority, will also be forfeited because under our laws, foreigners cannot own companies related to land as well. So those are the repercussions after her birth certificate will be revoked.
And how does it affect your case that it seems like they've taken a turn and decided to stop cooperating? I mean, she stopped showing up to the Senate hearings, right?
Well, the Senate can issue a subpoena. We did. So we issued a subpoena for her to come to the Senate. And if she doesn't comply, the Senate can also request for a warrant of arrest so that she can be bodily brought to the Senate.
Oh, pero Senator, that'll drag it out then, no? Kasi, for instance, like with the case of Pastor Apollo Kibuloy, it's dragging out. So I guess if with Mayor Alice Guo, baka matagalan, I guess, if she does not cooperate, if they refuse to cooperate from this point on.
Well, the only way that this can drag on is she goes in hiding or she leaves the country. But based on our information, she's still in the country.
Senator,
So, yeah.
Senator, do you have information also? Are you looking at looking into how this all happened? I mean, she got an NBA clearance, she got the birth certificate, she got her nationality here, she was able to run for public office. I'm sure, I mean, there are people also who are responsible for allowing that to happen.
That's a very good question. And in fact, that's the most important question that we have to answer. How did a foreigner manage to be elected? How can a foreigner fool the people of Bamban in voting for her? And how did she get this fake birth certificate? Definitely, there's problems. There's a lot of problems with our late registration process. And this is one of the legislative proposals that will come out of this investigation, is to revamp and reform our birth certificate and late registration process. We need to put accountable people and accountability to those who file for birth certificates and those who also fill up birth certificates. Because birth certificates in our country has become a very basic document that you can use to acquire many things. For example, your passport, your national ID. You can even run for office by holding a birth certificate. So it's a very basic document that can make you do many things here in the Philippines.
Right. To add to that, Senator Win, Gretchen's right? Also, lumalabas rin naman doon sa mga investigasyon that a lot of the other agencies were found to be remiss. In fact, some of the resource people were already saying that, because of this case, they've already taken certain measures, like the retirement agency is now taking fingerprints of all dependents, whereas before, hindi nila ginagawa yun. So there are already changes that are happening. And as we know, all these hearings over at the Senate, it's all in aid of legislation. As early as now, are we looking at certain specific pieces of legislation or amendments to existing legislations that you would want to cement?
Well, three things come to my mind because of this investigation. Number one is the legislation to completely ban Pogos. Pogos are a menace to our country, and you can see how Pogos destroys the peace and order situation of our country. Number two is to reform the birth certificate and late registration process of our country. You can see also how foreigners abuse our late registration process. And number three, PAGCOR's regulatory function and operation function should be separated. The reason why we are having all of this process is because the conflict of interest in Pagcor being an operator and a regulator at the same time.
It's a wide web, though, right, Senator? It's not just Pagor. It's not just the birth registration. It's also Comelec, for instance, or as in the case of Alice Guo, for instance, was she not endorsed by the former mayor? Before she even got on everyone's radar, she was nobody. Nobody knew her in Bamban, and she, became a mayor one day on the back of the endorsement of former Mayor John Feliciano. So what is their liability there?
Well, based on my analysis, there's no direct liability per se because Alice Guo might have told John Feliciano that she's Filipino and therefore she's eligible to run. And the former mayor probably took her word for it. And that's it. They campaigned together. So I don't think that's an issue. The problem here is when Alice Guo filed her certificate of candidacy, and in that certificate of candidacy, you have to swear that you are a Filipino. And she violated that oath, and she violated the information in her certificate of candidacy.
Is it still your belief that she's a Chinese asset, or this is a case of local corruption, i.e., they just paid off all these government
of people.
agencies, a lot of people to get to the paperwork?
That's another important question. In fact, I'm thinking about the whole thing. Just imagine a person living in lies, talking to people, pretending that she is born here, pretending that her mother is kasambahay. She went campaigning to Bamban, where they have approximately 60,000 people in terms of population. So she is living in lies. And it takes a unique person. Dapat yung sikmura mo, bakapal para magsinungaling ka araw-araw. This is not a one-time lie. For us, people lying one time is already difficult. But for someone to lie all her life and pretend that she is what she is, that takes a lot of, that takes a different person.
Right. And Senator, since you're already here, actually wanted to tell you, because ikaw yung unang nagpalabas nung Bureau of Immigration, yung special investors visa, yung may picture, sa'yo po nanggaling. Also, during one of the older hearings, nabanggit rin niya that they lived in Valenzuela at that time. And we all know that you were the mayor as well as the congressman of Valenzuela. Ano po yung kwento ng mga taga Valenzuela about her? Because we already sent a reporter to Bamban, and meron namang konting mga kwento rin from there. But it appears before siya nag-head to Bamban, taga Valenzuela siya. What did the mga people from there have to say?
Yeah, that's actually I told in my previous interviews that I personally know the lessor of their warehouse. The Guo family leased warehouses in a street the same as ours. In fact, that warehouse is not far from where we live. And I know the lessor very well. And according to the lessor, that they indeed leased some factories or some warehouses in their facility, and they have some operations there. So we also interviewed the people who work with the Guo family, and that's where we got the information that Lin Wenyi, or she goes by Wenyi Lin, is her mother, and Alice Guo introduced her to the workers and to the community as her mother. So that's where we got the initial information that Wenyi Lin is being introduced as her mother. And now it's true.
Okay, but as far as businesses were concerned, because they were here on a kind of like a business or investor visa, meron ba talaga silang legitimate businesses before all this Baofu, before Sun Yan and all of that?
We looked at the income statement of Triumph Embroidery. That's the business that they listed in their special investors resident visa, and that's the same business that was registered in Valenzuela. And in fairness, the minimum requirement to get the visa was there. $75,000, which is about around 3 million pesos. So with that capital, there was capital in that registered company. But subsequently, that company didn't make money. In fact, the filings that they gave to the SEC and as well to Valenzuela didn't make money during those times. So, in other words, the company was there. The company has the capital to enable it to qualify for that special investors resident visa. But subsequently, it lost money already, and I think eventually it closed down.
Senator, you're proposing an all-out ban on Pogos. Do you think the revelations are enough to get votes in the Senate? There is a House Bill number 10525 which was filed by Congresswoman Castro. Pero ang sabi niya sa amin when we ask her, parang medyo malabo pagdating sa taas kung makakapasa itong all-out ban or the Anti-Pogo Act.
I think here in the Senate, after all of these revelations, after the brutal crimes that were discovered in Porac, in Bamban, and the other Pogo hubs, my feel is we can get enough votes to get a complete ban on Pogos in our country. It's better to debate on this on the floor so that we can show the pieces of evidence and also actual footages and pictures and the brutality that happened inside this Pogo hub. So my sense is we can get enough votes to completely ban this.
And last question from me, Sen, real quickly, Reg. Are you also looking into those with SIRVs, those that are here supposedly to invest, but kahit na, I guess, na-bankrupt na yung business, somehow they're still here, and then obviously we know the rest, right, na yung iba nagiging citizens pa. Are we looking into that as well?
Yeah, we want to look at, this is another angle that opened up. Honestly, it came out during this investigation. There are 3 agencies that apparently issue visas. BOI for the investor visa, DOT for the retirement visa, and Bureau of Immigration for the regular visa. All of these agencies should be looked at, especially DOT and BOI. For example, we have also seen that people who are aged 35, 30 years old, requiring applying for retirement visas, which is quite unusual. At 30 years old, you'll be retiring in the Philippines. So we have to also look at this angle that these visa privileges that are being issued by these agencies are also being abused by foreigners coming to the Philippines and eventually staying here for a long time.
If you are successful with a blanket ban on Pogos, are we worried about the potential impact, fallout on the broader economy? I mean, I'm not just talking about the tax revenues that the Pogos remit to the government, whether that's $5 billion or $20 billion. I'm talking as well about the fact that they are one of the largest lessors of office space in the country. At one point, they were as big as the IT BPO segment. So there is a lot of money involved there. Are we worried about that?
Well, number one, they're not generating big revenue for our country that can affect our economy. It's less than 1% of the total revenues of the entire government. It's less than 0.5% of our entire economy. On top of that, there's no value that you can put to peace and order. Peace and order cannot be compromised. If there's one business, if there's any industry that will destroy the fabric of our society, that will destroy the peace and order situation of our country, we cannot compromise, no matter how big the revenue it generates for our country.
I have to dispute the 1% contribution, Senator, because yun nga, the point is that they are a big lesser of office space in the country, right? So if they all have to pack up and leave, who will fill those office spaces? And that means if the real estate or companies, if the developers have to slow down, that then trickles into the real economy. That means fewer jobs, fewer investments. That's the part that I'm questioning at this point whether we're prepared for that.
Well, whenever foreigners and foreign investors read that we're a hub for scamming, we're a hub for human trafficking, we have torture happening and kidnapping, who would invest in the Philippines? Serious investors and long-term investors will never invest in a country where you have human trafficking, rampant prostitution happening, all committed by criminal syndicates who are at large as of this point. We will probably get a handful of small investors, but the multinationals will send big, real investment, hard investment that can generate thousands of jobs in our country. That will never happen because of reputational damage.